how do you kill hunger cravings? What's going on, guys? Tyson Brown here, back with another episode. I am doing this on the fly today. Actually, I usually do most of them on the fly today. But this one I was like, oh shit, I don't know what topic to talk about. But then I remembered I was going through Instagram stories the other day and I actually asked a poll and I said, hey, ask me some nutrition questions. And one of the nutrition questions that came up was like, how do you get rid of hunger cravings? And first I was like, oh my God, I've gone over this a million times when it comes to fasting. But it's not just with fasting, it's just like in general, everyday life. How do you get rid of hunger cravings, or how do you stay away from food when you are hungry? And there's one thing to say, oh, you've got to willpower your way out of it and you've got to be strong. But there are more important and more easier and more sustainable ways to be able to stay away from food so you don't overeat your calories, right? So the first thing I want to talk to you about is actually your environment and what's around you. So I'm going to put this camera back just a little bit so people can see me more. That's better. So when you have a surrounding environment, whether it be at work, whether it be at home, wherever it is, what's going to happen is there is going to be things that are either going to tempt you or there are going to be things that are going to be supporting you, right? So think about this. If you're at work and you can sit down at your desk and I can look straight over here and I can see a jar of cookies and I see other members of my work going to get the jar of cookies, or it's always there just tempting me, eventually you're going to give in and you're going to eat the cookies, because who doesn't fucking love cookies, right? If it's not cookies, it's chocolate. If it's not chocolate, it's alcohol. If it's not alcohol, it's, I don't know, ice cream? Yeah, sure. But whatever it is, there's always going to be those temptations there. So when you can remove those temptations out of eyesight, you're less likely to grab it. When you can remove it even further, the further away it is, the harder to get to, the less likely you are to overeat it, because humans are just naturally lazy and we want to use as less effort as possible to eat as many calories as possible, because our body always wants to store fat. So a way you can do this is by thinking, okay, if I can see the jar of cookies there, can I turn my desk away? If you can't turn your desk away, can you move the cookies somewhere else? Can you put the cookies on a shelf? Can you put the cookies on the shelf in the cupboard? The further away, the less out of sight, out of mind it is, the less likely you are to go and get the cookies. Studies have actually shown that if you put a lolly in front of your desk versus a lolly in a wrapper, versus a lolly in a wrapper in a drawer, versus a lolly in a wrapper up on a shelf, the harder it is to get to, the less likely people were to overeat it. And so you can apply this little bit of psychology for yourself and think about, how can I get away from these tempting foods? Can you hide the chocolate? Can you hide the lollies at work? Can you change your desk? Can you do something to change your environment? And that's the first thing. That's the environment at work. Then you've got to think about your environment at home. What is your environment at home like? Do you have foods that are going to trigger you to overeat? If you do, you've got to get rid of them. Now, this is the excuse of like people like, oh, Tyson, my partner or my family or whatever it is it's not my food, it's theirs. So what you need to do is you need to talk to them about it, because if you're struggling, you need to have a serious conversation and let them know that you're struggling to keep the weight off or to stop eating because of that reason. Don't tell them not to buy it, but ask them, hey, can you hide this food? Or if you see me with this food, can you get up me? Or, hey, can you not eat that around me? Whatever it's going to be, you've got to have that conversation. I mean, you are a grown-up listening to this, and you have to have grown-up conversations. And so being able to sit down with someone and say, hey, like, I really need you to support me on my way to my goals. This is going to be the best way, like, you can help me. Can you please do it? And if you ask honestly, if you ask sincerely, if you ask your colleagues at work, if you ask people like your friends and family, they're going to support you because they want to see you succeed. And if they don't, they're shit people. I'm just going to say it. They're shit. If someone's like, no, I'm going to keep offering you beer, or I'm going to keep giving you the cookies, or I'm going to keep buying that stuff for you, like, you really need to take some reflection. Now, a lot of people are going to be offended by that, but that's just my personal opinion. Like, if someone's not willing to support you on towards your goals, then they're not a good friend or family member, and that's just plain and simple. That's my point of view, and that's how I see it. So after we've talked about environment, we've then got to talk about, what are things that are going to be causing you to have cravings. So first of all, the more sugar you have, the more cravings you're going to have. So if you are someone who follows the 80-20 approach, like I talk about, 80% whole nutritious food, 20% enjoy yourself, make sure you save that 20% for the end of the day. It's going to be sugary, it's going to be sweet, it's going to be a little salty, and so what that's going to do is that's going to trigger an event. And so if you had that at the start of your day, let's say you have your 20% when you break your fast, right? And you have a piece of chocolate or whatever it's going to be. You're going to get that taste in your mouth. And what you're going to do is you're going to keep wanting more and more and more and more. And that's going to be really hard to stick to. So what you want to do instead is you want to make sure that when it comes to that, you want to make sure you have it at the end of the day, because when you avoid the sugar, when you avoid all those sweet things, when you avoid the salty stuff at the start of the day, you're less likely to give in later on. So start off your day with a really good meal when you break your fast. Now when I say break your fast, that can mean breakfast in the morning, that can mean breaking your fast like I actually talk about. Whatever you have your first meal of the day, try and stay away from sugar, sweets, all that stuff as much as possible, and prolong it towards the end of the day, because if you have that little sweet treat at the end, it's not going to trigger you to keep going and keep wanting more and more and more cravings, okay? That's a really good point. I like this one today. I'm feeling on the ball. Number 2 is you've got to have things that are going to kill those cravings, okay? So you may be dehydrated. You've got to drink a lot of water, because water can make you feel like you're hungry when you're not actually hungry. You're actually just thirsty and dehydrated. So make sure you get your body weight in ounces, halve that, and that's how much you need to be getting. If you're in kilograms, it is your body weight times 30 mils. So if you're 70 kilos, you need 2.1 liters a day. And drinking enough water is so important. So water's not going to kill the hunger cravings though. So what else can you do? You can have Coke Zero, you've got Diet Coke, you've got Pepsi Max, any of those sugar-free calorie drinks. They're going to help kind of just get that sweet edge. Plus they're carbonated beverages. So what that's going to do is going to help fill the stomach more. And when you fill the stomach more, when you have that sweet carbonated beverage that actually doesn't have any calories, it's going to be really beneficial. And I'm doing that at the moment too. Like I'm having a fair bit of, because I'm on this crazy fucking diet that I don't want to talk to you guys about because you should never do. But basically what I'm doing at the moment is I'm drinking a lot of sugar-free sodas. And what this is doing is just helping me curb my hunger cravings, especially during the middle of the day when usually I'm used to having carbohydrates after my workout. I'm craving some carbs, and what I'm doing is I'm just like, nah, I'm just gonna have some sugar-free Coke Zero and it's fine. So think about that. Like, what are those things that are sugar-free that are gonna help get you through? It could be black coffee with some sweetener. It could be 0-calorie drinks. It could be whatever it's going to be, whatever's going to help you feel fuller, feel satisfied without having those extra calories. So far, we've talked about changing your environment. We've talked about talking to the people who are supposed to be supporting you. We've talked about not having your 20% until the end of the day. We've thought about having Coke Zero, all those carbonated beverages, coffee, those things that are known to naturally kill appetite. Coffee's a really good one. So is actually decaf coffee. It's actually been shown to be really beneficial too. But apart from those, another thing I would want you to look at is your sleep. So are you sleeping enough? Because sleep plays a huge factor with how many calories you eat a day. And it's kind of weird. You're like, how the hell does that work? So let's think of this from a from a physiological perspective back in the ancestral days. Let's say you were kept up all night due to tigers or whatever it was, who knows, and you couldn't sleep because something was going on. Your body needs energy the next day because your body is like, hey, we've got to go and get energy. We don't know when the next famine's going to be. I'm going to drive you to go and eat food. We want to gain as much fat as possible. That's just the body's natural instinct. So when you have less sleep, your body's going to be craving sugar because it wants that energy, because sugar and fat provide energy for you. And so your body's going to be like, hey, gimme, 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 and it's going to be going crazy and sending you those signals that you are going to have cravings. So when you start to take care of your sleep and you're getting at least 7 or 8 hours a night, guess what's going to change? You got that right. You are going to reduce your food cravings. So simple things like that. Like, we don't think about these things until someone like me who actually does the research shares this stuff with you. But when you can start doing this stuff, when you can start making these small changes that really don't have a lot to do with health and fitness. I mean, some of the stuff I talked about, but like the psychology of what your environment looks like, who you're surrounding yourself with, sleep, all those type of things. We don't think about that stuff enough, but it does play a big important factor. So if you can go and implement those tips, if you can go and start, trying to sleep a little bit more. If you're going to bed for 6 hours, try 6 hours and 15 minutes. Then try 6 hours and 30s. Work yourself up slowly. Work on the sleep. Work on changing your environment. If you can put those cookies out in a cupboard, or you can take those cookies away, or you can change your desk and get them out of eyesight, that's the key thing. If you're able to make sure that you sit down and talk with your friends and family members and spouse and colleagues and be like, hey, I need help, I need support, I'm stuck, I'm struggling, I've got food cravings, I need you to support me, have that talk with them. Throw away all of your trigger foods, get rid of the foods that's not going to support you, and then just take some carbonated beverages, Coke Zero, caffeine. That's going to be the best thing you can do, okay? You follow those tips, I can guarantee you, it's going to help kill those hunger cravings. So I hope this video helped, I hope it was informative. Now, one thing you need to be doing is make sure you're getting high amounts of protein too, because high amounts of protein also kill hunger. So if you don't know what any high protein meals are, I've got a free guide for you to download. It's 20 recipes, it's high in protein, simple to make, really easy, any meal of the day. All you've got to go to is tysonbrown.com.au/20 recipes. or click on the link below, and I'll speak to you.